1858 marks one of the most intimate and unguarded moments within Gustave Courbet's lifelong engagement with the representation of the female form. Painted in oil on canvas and now housed in the National Museum of Western Art in Tokyo, the work exemplifies Courbet's realist commitment to portraying the human body with a candor that dispensed with myth, allegory, or academic idealization. Here, the nude is not a goddess or muse, but a woman seen in the unembellished state of repose, breathing, weighted, and tangible. In doing so, Courbet dismantles centuries of pictorial convention that transformed women into abstract symbols of beauty, restoring instead the immediacy of lived physicality. The composition presents a single sleeping woman lying on her side upon white sheets, her head turned slightly toward the viewer, her dark hair spilling across the pillow. The light falls gently across her body, revealing the supple tones of skin rendered through Courbet's characteristically dense, tactile brushwork. Unlike the theatrical nudes of the academic tradition, the scene conveys neither invitation nor spectacle. The woman is unaware of the viewer's gaze. She inhabits her own world, enclosed by the folds of fabric and the quiet rhythm of sleep. Courbet's realism here is not voyeuristic but revelatory, an attempt to paint the human body as it truly exists, unmediated by cultural myth or moral expectation. Within the broader context of 19th century painting, sleeping nude can be seen as a decisive step toward the modern conception of the nude. Courbet's contemporaries, including Jean-Auguste Dominique Ingres and Alexandre Cabanel, still veiled the erotic under the language of mythology. Courbet, by contrast, discards all pretexts of narrative. His model is not Venus or Danae, but an anonymous woman whose body bears the subtle traces of humanity, the softness of flesh, the weight of gravity, the faint shadow of imperfection. In this sense, Courbet transforms the nude from an aesthetic abstraction into a study of truth itself. The painting's sensuous materiality also reflects Courbet's mastery of surface and pigment. His handling of paint gives the skin a living warmth, while the interplay of light and shadow creates the illusion of quiet breathing. The white drapery, thickly impasted, does not merely frame the body but becomes part of the same physical continuum. This unity between body and surrounding matter suggests a metaphysical assertion that the human form, like nature itself, exists within the same physical laws of texture, light, and weight. Courbet thus aligns the act of painting with the act of being. Both are processes of material revelation. Interpretively, Sleeping Nude can be read as an affirmation of Courbet's artistic creed. I cannot paint an angel because I have never seen one. His refusal to depict the idealized or the imagined culminates here in an image of unmediated presence. Yet beneath its calm surface lies a quiet radicalism. The unidealized nude, shown in a state of rest and vulnerability, challenged the moral conservatism of Second Empire France and paved the way for later artists, Edouard Manet, Edgar Degas, and the Impressionists, to explore the human form outside of convention. Courbet's nude is not performing beauty. She embodies it simply by existing. Today, Sleeping Nude endures as both a cornerstone of modern realism and a meditation on the relationship between truth and representation. Its stillness invites contemplation, not desire. Its light reveals presence, not perfection. Courbet's achievement lies in the courage to paint what is real, to find poetry in the ordinary and sanctity in the material. In the unguarded sleep of an unnamed woman, he discovered the quiet revolution of art itself. Painted between 1861 and 1862, Nude Woman with a Dog exemplifies Gustave Courbet's pursuit of realism and his unflinching commitment to portraying the human body as it truly appears. Now housed in the Musée d'Orsay in Paris, the work embodies Courbet's sensual yet grounded approach to the female nude, diverging sharply from the idealized traditions of the French Academy. The composition captures a reclining woman whose natural curves dominate the pictorial space, her skin rendered with tangible warmth and tonal depth. A small dog rests beside her, an element that subtly infuses the scene with intimacy and domestic tenderness. Rather than presenting a mythological Venus or an allegorical figure, Courbet's subject is distinctly human-earthly, immediate, and unembellished. The painting's subdued color palette, alternating between flesh tones, muted fabrics, and shadowed interiors, anchors the viewer within a private, contemplative world. Courbet's handling of paint in this work remains deeply material and tactile. His brushwork, thick yet controlled, emphasizes texture over polish, endowing the skin, fabrics, and fur with palpable substance. Unlike the smooth idealization favored by academic painters, Courbet's surface insists on the physicality of oil paint itself. Through this technique, the artist transforms realism into an act of truth-telling, declaring that art need not flatter beauty to reveal its power. Nude Woman with a Dog also speaks to Courbet's broader philosophical rebellion. By situating the nude within a personal, recognizable environment, rather than an imagined classical realm, he collapses the divide between art and reality. The woman's unposed serenity suggests neither shame nor theatricality. She is present, embodied, and at ease within her own physical being. The small dog, long associated with fidelity and companionship, functions as both compositional balance and symbolic reinforcement of the scene's authenticity. When first conceived, works such as this unsettled many viewers. Courbet's insistence on depicting real bodies, imperfect, sensual, and mortal, challenged a culture accustomed to the marble-smooth divinities of the salon. Yet it is precisely this defiance that cemented his influence on later artists, from Manet and Renoir to the early modernists who sought sincerity over convention. The painting's realism thus extends beyond form into ideology, a declaration that the truth of flesh, with all its imperfections, possesses a beauty more enduring than idealized myth. Nude Woman with a Dog endures as one of Courbet's most tender yet radical nudes, bridging sensuality and veracity. It affirms his vision of art not as an escape from reality, but as a mirror to it, where even the quiet companionship of a woman and her dog becomes a profound testament to the dignity of the real. Femme nue couchée, 1862, occupies a provocative and pivotal position within Gustave Courbet's realist oeuvre. Painted during a period of both artistic maturity and controversy, the work embodies Courbet's radical redefinition of the nude, not as an idealized object of mythic beauty, but as an unflinching image of corporeal truth. In this canvas, a young dark-haired woman reclines upon a couch, wearing nothing but stockings and shoes. Behind her, red curtains frame an overcast sky glimpsed through a closed window, a compositional device that intensifies the sense of enclosure and voyeuristic intimacy. The result is a startling confrontation between the viewer's expectations, inherited from classical and romantic traditions of the nude, and Courbet's subversive assertion of realism. The historical and cultural context of Femme nue couchée is deeply entwined with Courbet's broader rejection of academic conventions. By the early 1860s, French painting remained dominated by the lingering idealism of neoclassicism and the sensuous mythologies of Romanticism. Courbet, however, sought to strip art of these idealized veils, insisting that the artist should depict only what was real and present before the eyes. In Femme nue couchée, he collapses the boundary between the sacred and the profane, between the goddess and the woman. The influence of Francisco Goya's La Maja Desnuda is unmistakable, yet Courbet's figure is more immediate, more tactile. She is no mythological Venus, but a living, breathing woman, unapologetically herself. In this, Courbet not only challenged the visual decorum of the time, but also the moral anxieties surrounding female sexuality and artistic representation. Compositionally, the painting demonstrates Courbet's command of both sensuality and structure. The woman's pale body, rendered with broad, confident brushstrokes, lies diagonally across the canvas, her form illuminated against the darker tones of the drapery and the muted, cloudy sky beyond. The red curtain functions as a visual and psychological frame, both concealing and revealing, suggesting the theatrical nature of the gaze. The choice to depict the woman still wearing stockings and shoes intensifies the erotic charge of the scene, subverting the traditional nude's pretense of timeless idealization by anchoring her firmly in the contemporary and carnal. Courbet's naturalism is unsparing yet deeply empathetic. His treatment of flesh conveys warmth and weight rather than perfection. Thematically, Femme nue couchée serves as a bold meditation on the politics of looking. In confronting the viewer with a figure whose gaze is absent or withdrawn, Courbet reverses the dynamic of possession inherent in the classical nude. The woman's body is not offered as an object of passive contemplation, but presented as a subject of presence, indifferent to or even defiant of the viewer's scrutiny. This subtle psychological distance transforms the image from a display of beauty into an encounter with individuality and power. The painting thus participates in Courbet's larger humanist project, to reveal truth not through the refinement of form, but through the authenticity of being. The later history of Femme nue couchée only amplifies its mythic aura. After changing hands among collectors and surviving the upheavals of war, the painting was looted from Budapest in 1945 and vanished for decades, only to resurface in the early 2000s under circumstances as dramatic as any in modern art restitution. Its recovery, after intricate negotiations and the involvement of Interpol, restored not only a lost Courbet masterpiece, but also a fragment of cultural memory long obscured by violence and displacement. The painting's rediscovery, and its eventual sale in 2015 for over $15 million, underscores the enduring fascination with Courbet's defiance of aesthetic and moral convention. Today, Femme couchée is understood not merely as an erotic image, but as a cornerstone of modern visual thought. It anticipates later artistic explorations of the body by Edouard Manet, Amedeo Modigliani, and even Egon Schiele, artists who, like Courbet, sought to reclaim the nude as a site of psychological and existential truth. The painting remains an icon of realism's challenge to idealization, a work in which beauty, stripped of allegory, reasserts itself through the power of presence, flesh, and light. The source, 1862, occupies an intriguing position within Gustave Courbet's exploration of the nude as both a natural and philosophical subject. Painted at a mature stage in his career, the canvas reveals Courbet's ongoing interrogation of realism through the human form, particularly the female body. In this composition, a nude woman stands in the shallow edge of a stream, her figure surrounded by verdant foliage and fluid light. She reaches into the flowing water, as if communing with the very element from which life emerges. Courbet's decision to locate the figure outdoors, in nature, rather than in the confines of myth or allegory, is a conscious rejection of classical idealization and an assertion of a modern, embodied realism. Thematically, the source continues Courbet's defiance of academic tradition while simultaneously engaging in subtle dialogue with it. The title itself recalls La Source, 1856, by Jean-Auguste Dominique Ingres, a work that epitomized the neoclassical pursuit of purity and ideal beauty. Yet Courbet's response transforms the theme into something entirely different. His woman is not a stylized nymph, but a flesh and blood being, tactile and grounded. While Ingres's source exudes an otherworldly calm and abstraction, Courbet's figure is imbued with earthiness, the sensual immediacy of a woman in the natural world, not separate from it. In doing so, Courbet transposes the mythological ideal into the language of realism, displacing the divine muse with the physical presence of humanity itself. Compositionally, Courbet employs a restrained yet powerful arrangement. The woman stands upright, her pale skin contrasting with the dark, mossy greens of the surrounding environment. The diagonal flow of water mirrors the gentle curve of her body, creating a subtle dialogue between the animate and inanimate. The play of light across her torso and the surface of the water imbues the scene with a quiet luminescence, suggesting a form of spiritual renewal, though one rooted not in divinity, but in the physical continuity between humanity and nature. The entire scene is devoid of ornamentation or theatrical gesture. Instead, Courbet's brushwork celebrates the weight and texture of existence. The identity of the model remains uncertain, and this ambiguity contributes to the painting's aura of mystery. Historical speculation suggests that she may have posed for Courbet more than once, yet her anonymity allows the work to transcend portraiture. She becomes, in essence, a symbol of womanhood's elemental connection to the natural world. Courbet, however, never indulges in sentimentality. His vision remains unflinching, his realism unsparing. The woman's form, rendered with sculptural solidity, asserts both presence and autonomy. She is not an object of passive contemplation, but a participant in the living environment. Her gesture toward the water an act of communion rather than exhibition. When viewed in relation to Courbet's broader oeuvre, the source occupies a dialogue not only with Ingres's classicism, but also with later works such as Paul Gauguin's The Moon and the Earth, 1893, which similarly explores the relationship between the human body and elemental forces. Yet unlike Gauguin's symbolist allegory, Courbet's realism insists upon the here and now, upon the tactile immediacy of flesh and water, the rhythmic pulse of the natural world. His painting thus bridges the sensual and the philosophical, revealing how the human body becomes a conduit through which nature expresses its vitality. The source stands as a testament to Courbet's radical vision of realism, a vision that sought truth not through ideal beauty, but through the material harmony of existence. The painting's residence in the Metropolitan Museum of Art situates it among the great studies of modernity's early struggle with nature, body, and truth. It remains a meditation on the perpetual origin of life, rendered not as myth but as fact, the stream as both literal and symbolic source of being. Painted in 1863, Nude with Flowering Branch stands among Gustave Courbet's most lyrical explorations of sensual realism. Now housed in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, the work embodies Courbet's mature approach to the female form, earthly yet poetic, natural yet deeply evocative. Emerging during a decade when the artist's depictions of the nude were both celebrated and censured, this canvas encapsulates the delicate tension between realism and idealization that defined his oeuvre. The composition presents a reclining female nude, rendered with Courbet's characteristic density of flesh tones and palpable tactility. Her body, luminous under the painter's earthy palette, stretches diagonally across the picture plane, framed by dark foliage and the soft gleam of light that caresses her form. In her hand, she holds a flowering branch, an emblem both of renewal and of sensual vitality. The juxtaposition of human flesh and blossoming flora blurs the boundary between nature and body, suggesting an intrinsic unity between human life and the natural world. Courbet's brushwork remains vigorous and unembellished. He builds form through direct physical strokes that model the figure not with academic smoothness but with vitality and immediacy. His attention to tonal contrasts, warm flesh against cool green, shadow against highlight, intensifies the tactile realism of the scene. Unlike the ethereal nudes of his academic contemporaries, Courbet's woman inhabits the material world. Her body bears weight. Her skin breathes. She is both the subject and substance of painting itself. In the Nude with Flowering Branch, Courbet's defiance of traditional mythological narratives reaches a serene balance. The absence of narrative pretext, no Venus, no allegory, invites the viewer to confront the nude as she is, independent of symbol or story. Yet the flowering branch introduces a subtle metaphor: the coexistence of beauty and transience, the cyclical renewal of life. Courbet's realism here is not a denial of poetry, but its redefinition through nature and flesh. The painting's quiet sensuality also gestures toward Courbet's philosophical materialism. For him, art was inseparable from the tangible world. His choice to present the female nude in direct relation to organic elements, flowers, soil, water, air, reflects his belief that truth resides in physical experience rather than abstraction. The work anticipates modern art's eventual liberation of the nude from mythic idealization, presenting instead a deeply human, embodied truth. Nude with Flowering Branch thus stands as a testament to Courbet's poetic realism, a vision where beauty and nature merge in their most immediate forms. In its unguarded sensuality and technical mastery, the painting bridges Courbet's realist convictions with the lyrical impulse that would later inspire symbolism and impressionism alike. Painted in 1862, the Trellis belongs to the sequence of Gustave Courbet's mature works, in which sensual realism and natural observation converge. Now housed in the Toledo Museum of Art, this painting exemplifies Courbet's ability to intertwine the female body with the living rhythms of nature. Conceived during a period when his art oscillated between rural realism and the lyrical study of form, the Trellis encapsulates the painter's meditation on the harmony between human presence and the natural world. The composition presents a young woman half-length, seen amid the climbing foliage of a garden trellis. Her bare shoulders emerge from the screen of green leaves, creating a striking contrast between the warm, tactile quality of flesh and the cool, chromatic depth of the surrounding vegetation. Courbet uses light to weave together these two registers, the body and the environment, so that neither dominates the other. The figure appears not as an intruder into nature, but as an organic extension of it, the human form blending seamlessly with the vegetal lattice. Courbet's handling of paint is richly material, with thick, confident strokes modeling the forms. His realism does not rest upon minute detail, but upon a visceral understanding of texture and weight. The creamy tones of the skin are set against deep, earthy greens, while subtle glints of light pass across the leaves and hair. This painterly tactility lends the work its physical immediacy. The spectator is made almost to feel the cool shade of the garden and the living warmth of the figure within it. Unlike the mythological nudes of academic painting, the Trellis dispenses with allegory. Courbet's woman is neither Venus nor Flora. She exists in her own natural right. Yet the Trellis itself, with its intertwining branches and growing vines, serves as a quiet metaphor. It evokes both enclosure and fertility, suggesting the continuity between nature's cycles and human vitality. Courbet's realism thus acquires a subtle symbolic resonance, an art of presence that gestures toward the eternal processes of growth and renewal. Formally, the work reveals Courbet's deep sensitivity to structure. The vertical lines of the trellis, softened by the rhythmic curves of leaves and hair, frame the woman's form with deliberate simplicity. The balance between organic and geometric elements gives the composition an underlying architectural order, a hallmark of Courbet's mature style. Through this interplay of pattern and spontaneity, Courbet transforms a moment of observation into an image of enduring poise. The trellis may be understood as a visual ode to the unity of the human and natural realms. In its serene sensuality and painterly vigor, the work anticipates later developments in symbolism and impressionism, where nature would again serve as a mirror for emotion and being. Courbet's woman, poised within her living lattice, becomes both subject and metaphor. She is the embodiment of life woven into the structure of the world. Painted in 1862, Bouquet of Flowers in a Vase, Man View, marks one of the rare yet deeply introspective moments in Gustave Courbet's oeuvre, when the artist turned his attention away from the human figure toward the silent vitality of nature. Now housed in the Paul Getty Museum in Los Angeles, this work demonstrates Courbet's exceptional sensitivity to form, color, and material substance, reaffirming his belief that the painter's task is not to idealize but to reveal the truth of what exists before the eye. Though Courbet is primarily celebrated as the founder of realism through his depictions of peasants, landscapes, and nudes, his floral still lifes occupy a distinctive place in his career, serving as quiet meditations on life's transience and the painter's own sense of mortality. In this canvas, a bouquet of vividly colored flowers, roses, peonies, and field blooms erupts from a dark, heavy vase set upon a simple table. The surrounding background is composed in subdued tones of brown and umber, against which the luminous petals seem to pulse with inner life. Courbet's brushwork is vigorous, dense, and tactile. Every stroke carries the physicality of his engagement with pigment. The flowers do not dissolve into delicate ornamentation but retain their sturdy presence, rendered with an almost geological solidity. In this, the still life becomes an extension of Courbet's landscapes, earth transformed into bloom. Courbet's realism here is both observational and emotional. While the composition appears spontaneous, it is carefully constructed to evoke balance amid abundance. The cluster of flowers swells upward in a pyramid-like formation, suggesting both growth and inevitable decay. The palette transitions from deep reds and ochres at the base to soft pinks and whites toward the top, creating a dynamic gradation of light. The contrast between vitality and shadow imbues the painting with a quiet tension, as if time itself were pressing upon the moment of full bloom. This still life, painted during a turbulent period of Courbet's life, may also be read as a personal allegory. Having faced growing controversy for his defiance of academic convention, Courbet found in floral compositions a meditative refuge, a realm where his materialism could unfold without the burden of politics or human narrative. The flowers, painted with the same earnest intensity as his monumental stonebreakers or wheat sifters, affirm his belief that all subjects, humble or grand, deserve equal dignity under the painter's hand. Formally, the painting reveals Courbet's mastery of texture and chiaroscuro. The thick impasto of the petals catches the light, contrasting sharply with the matte surface of the ceramic vase and the shadowed background. This interplay of roughness and delicacy, solidity and evanescence, defines Courbet's approach to realism not as mere reproduction, but as a dialogue between substance and perception. The flowers breathe, not through illusion, but through the weight and energy of the paint itself. Seen within the broader context of 19th century still life painting, Bouquet of Flowers in a Vase positions Courbet as both inheritor and innovator. He extends the tradition of Chardin's domestic realism and anticipates the sensuous immediacy later pursued by Manet and Cézanne. In Courbet's hands, the floral subject transcends prettiness to become an existential image, nature asserting its vitality within the confines of mortality and art.